everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time for your weekly wrap-up. And I'm a little tired today, actually very tired, but there's a good reason for that. We welcome my new daughter to the family this weekend. This is Ellie. She's our second, and also our second daughter. She's 8 pounds, 9 ounces, and 21.5 inches long, and we brought her home on Sunday, yesterday, for Mother's Day. So she came home Sunday afternoon, and we're getting her acclimated to the house. And babies don't sleep all that much. They do about 2 or 3 hours in between feedings. So we are up quite a bit, making sure she's getting everything she needs to get ready for life here, but we're getting through it, and it's very exciting whenever you have a new member of the family join the house. So we're really just enjoying every minute of it. And our daughter Kira, who's just turned 3, they were actually, their birthdays are a day apart. So Kira and Ellie will have their own birthdays, but they're a day next to each other. So it'll be a very festive week when May rolls around every year in the household here. So everybody's doing great. I'm excited, very happy, just a little tired, but we'll get through it. Now, this is a tech channel, so you're probably wondering what I took the picture with. I have a Nikon D600, and I'm using a 1.4 50 millimeter lens. So you get that really nice bokeh effect there. And what I did is in the hospital, we had these really large windows. So I just rolled her little crib over to the window and got some very good natural light and took some fun pictures of the newborn to share with my friends on Facebook and now to all of you too. So great camera. Actually, I bought that camera 3 years ago when my other daughter was born, but it's been so great I haven't felt the need to upgrade it. So really nice. And when you really want to take a nice picture, you can't go wrong with a DSLR with a really nice lens attached to it. And these 50 millimeter lenses are really great ways to start learning about exposure and depth of field, and you can get them pretty cheap. So the 1.4 is a little bit more money, but you can get into a 1.8 millimeter, 1.8 aperture 50 millimeter for probably about $100, $150 or so, and that's across most of the camera brands out there too. So definitely get one, because you'll be able to take pictures like this and really learn all the basics of photography in the process. So lots of fun, and we're going to be having a lot more pictures to come, I am sure. And we have some new members of our Patreon family this week. June Wang and Mikhail Ebmar both became contributors on the Patreon page. I want to thank both of them for that. I did update the end credits for the April patrons. So if you contributed in April and have been active before April, you will now see your name at the end of every video. I want to thank everyone for their support. Some of you may have noticed some of our subscribers come and go off the Patreon page, and that happens. I've seen a bunch of people come in for a couple months, they leave, and then they come back. And I think what it is, I mean, it's something that I do, is I try to move my money around a little bit. I have a bunch of money set aside that I contribute to other creators, and I adjust the numbers a little bit so that everyone gets a good share of what I've been putting into my own Patreon pools. That's something we're going to see on this channel and many others over time. But if you see people leaving, don't worry. The channel's not going anywhere. Patreon dollars are important to the channel, and especially as we start bringing on staff to help support all the stuff that I do here. But it's still a rather small portion of the overall revenue sphere for what I do here. So it's not like if a few people drop off, it's not the end of the world. So don't worry. Everything is going to be fine. If you see patrons come and go, it's just the course of events on the internet these days with subscriber revenue, but it's a great platform. It's been great for the channel. I do appreciate all of you who contribute and continue to contribute on an ongoing basis, and of course everyone who watches on an ongoing basis too. So we had a bunch of stuff this week that we did on the channel here, despite how busy I've been. We interviewed Phil Tippett, who was the guy behind so many of the characters you might recognize from the original Star Wars trilogy, Admiral Akbar and the Tauntauns and the bar scene in the first movie, and even the chess pieces that you saw both in the original Star Wars movie and in the Force Awakens. They kind of brought that little scene back. Phil Tippett did all of that along with his team. He was the lead animator. He was even the guy that animated the Imperial Walkers in The Empire Strikes Back, and he's partnered up with somebody to make a new crowd-funded augmented reality game, which looks pretty cool, using some of his stop-motion characters. So you can check out the interview with him. Kind of a neat process now of these practical effects that he got started with, back in the 60s and 70s, now kind of coming back into the digital realm, where they make things physically, scan them into the computer, and the computer then animates those physical objects from there. Really cool stuff, pretty cool game too. So you can check out that interview. I'll get the audio version up pretty soon as well. We also looked at the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 tablet. This is Lenovo's answer to the Microsoft Surface. And what was so funny about the comment thread that came out of this, certain comments were about price, which it is a little pricey. At least the one that I looked at was about $1,300. But a lot of people remarked that it's ugly, and it's actually not ugly if you are a fan of ThinkPads, because this is the ThinkPad look, and it's really been unchanged for probably close to 20 years now. Of course, they modernized different components or whatever, but every ThinkPad that I can remember, even back to when IBM was the company making them, had that little red nub thing in the middle there on the keys, and pretty ugly, sort of ugly looking design, but very rugged also. And this is one of those things that's the nature of business laptops, is that they have to be consistent, because IT departments are buying, hundreds of these at a time for their people out in the field. And a lot of times, I found this too, just in my own work, that a lot of people become creatures of habit. If they've been using a ThinkPad for 20 years, they don't want anything to change. They want it to be familiar, and that is what Lenovo does with the ThinkPad line. So they get creative in their yogas and all the other stuff that they do, but the ThinkPads generally stay the same. I even have a low-cost ThinkPad finally that we'll be looking at in the next week or two, so stay tuned for that. We looked at the Sennheiser AVX. I spelled cardioid wrong here, I know. And I looked at the little mic heads you can get for the stick mic, comparing the cardioid mic to the Omni mic. And this is kind of a production video geeky thing, but when you're out in the field and you're in a noisy environment, having an omnidirectional mic is not always ideal. So I showed the difference between using an omnidirectional microphone and a cardioid microphone, which better isolates sound at the top of the microphone. So you can check that one out. Interestingly, I edited that one completely on my little MacBook, the little 12-inch Core M MacBook. It actually did better than I thought it would. I plugged in a portable SSD into it with a dongle, of course, and was able to edit up the video in the hospital room while we were waiting to come home from the baby being born. So that was something I did while everyone was sleeping. I also took a look at the Viewfind, which is a clip-on HDMI monitor that you put on a pair of glasses so you can get a hands-free view of your action camera or some other device. Pretty neat product. Really nice, simple thing, too. They didn't try to over-engineer this, which meant it actually worked when it was released. It was a Kickstarter, and one that I was successfully backing. And I've had some bad luck on Kickstarter lately, so it was good to see one actually work out. And we looked at the WeBoost EQO, which is a wireless phone, cell phone signal booster that actually works and doesn't require internet or anything else like that to operate. It basically takes a signal, amplifies it, and it works. And what's fun about making this video is that I could actually show it working in a really weird environment, which is this little bunker underneath my front porch, which is surrounded by concrete and metal. Nothing works in there ever. And this thing was able to extend the cell phone signal into it. Really cool. You can check out the video and see how all that came together. And a new studio update. It is fully armed and operational as of today. Well, maybe not so much operational because I'm still up here in the spare room doing this right now. But I had some things kind of get in the way of getting that big move going. But the air conditioner heat pump thing went in today and it's working. So I am ready to go. So I'm going to be getting all this stuff slowly moved down in a very organized fashion, because one of the problems I've had on the channel here is that every place I've hosted the show from has been an absolute disaster. So what you see on camera is a very thin sliver of an absolute disastrous mess that is all over this room right now. So I am determined to move down there the right way, have a place for everything, and just very meticulously get everything arranged so that I really have a functional and efficient workspace, especially if we're going to start bringing in people to help. I don't want them walking into a total disaster. So we'll be getting down there. I'm hoping probably this week to start moving some things down, so maybe by the weekend you might start seeing some stuff shot down there. The EQO video that I did was shot down there. The Vive review that I did was shot down there, so you can get a feel for what it looks like now. Really excited to finally have a space of my own after being kicked out of a couple of rooms here to make room for new family members. And now it's time for some Q&A, and a bunch of you tweeted at me this morning, including Jasassin and Dan34109. And you remember I was very excited about getting my Wi-Fi access points set up a couple of weeks ago to have just seamless wireless roaming all over my house. Great product, but really geared towards techies like me and you, not so much towards consumers. And now Ubiquiti Networks, who makes the Wi-Fi, is making a consumer-friendly version that is supposedly going to be a lot easier to set up. It's going to compete against the Eero, and it's actually less expensive. So this is what it looks like here. It is it almost looks like a Nest to some degree. It's a little cube that's the router and the Wi-Fi access point. And then they have these little extensions that you plug into an outlet. So you don't have to mount them. You don't have to screw anything into your walls. These extenders just plug into an outlet and I believe extend the wireless signal wirelessly, not through the power line. So it may take a bit of a speed hit, I think, on those extenders, but we'll see what it looks like when it comes out. The pricing actually looks pretty reasonable, too. So the top-end one is $349, and they have a few others here that cost a little bit less. I think the difference is the range of the device and the speed as well. I'm going to try to get a better idea of specs too. I'll reach out to them and see if they have review loaners too, because I know a lot of you will be interested in seeing what this looks like. But good to see them jumping into this space, because they make some awesome Wi-Fi gear for the enterprise. It's actually very easy to use once you figure it out, and very, very cost effective. So it's nice to see them getting into the consumer space, because I think they're going to be very successful if they can market it correctly. Anthony Guest wrote in on the Patreon page and was wondering about the reason why I canceled my order for the Oculus Rift. He was hoping to see a comparison from me of those two products. And this is an area where my channel doesn't always do as well on, which are very popular products that have a lot of press around them, because a lot of people are doing a lot of reviews of this stuff. So things like the Kangaroo PC, which are not maybe the most sexiest product in the world, don't get a lot of press attention as much as perhaps an Oculus Rift or a HTC Vive will. So these are things I never really do all that well on. So if I get them very early, I have a shot. But the longer it takes for the product to get to me, the less chance I have of actually getting views on it. So there's been a ton of people doing HTC versus Oculus reviews out there. And when I looked at the metrics here, it just wasn't going to be something that will be very successful on the channel. And I'll be honest with you, when I got the Vive and really started playing with it, just the whole experience of the standing up with the hands and all of that, I just can't see the Oculus being better than that at this point. But I'm going to try to find one, maybe a friend or somebody who has one. I can come over and try it out. We'll bring my cameras over and we'll do a proper comparison. But I think I'm going to wait a little bit before purchasing it, just because I'm really satisfied with the Vive. I think it's a really good product, and one that I would actually recommend. My only curiosity is how well the Oculus does on the field of vision, because the Vive, even when I adjusted it, still doesn't have the widest field of vision that I would have expected. My peripheral vision is still not fully covered, but it's still pretty convincing. But I'd like to see if the Oculus does a little bit better than that. But on everything else, the motion controls, the stand-up experience, the room-based interaction, I think the Vive has got the edge at the moment. But Oculus has that stuff coming too. So maybe when they come up with all that other stuff, I'll grab it too. But I often really have a hard time competing against other channels just based on the size that I'm at right now. We did hit 90,000 subscribers this week though, so we're getting closer, but not close enough just yet. And it really didn't feel like it was a good use of my funds to buy another VR kit when I'm very satisfied with the one that I did purchase already. And our next note came in from Craig Dunham, who told me about an emulator for the Virtual Boy that works with Google Cardboard on an Android phone, which I think is awesome. So you can get that 3D effect. Now, if you don't know what a Virtual Boy is, hang on here, I got one right here. This was Nintendo's biggest flop ever. Really, it was kind of disappointing that this thing didn't work out, but I could see why it didn't. And I bought this recently. I didn't buy it back in the day. And what you would do with it is turn it on, of course, put a cartridge in. There was a controller also that they have over there somewhere, and you just lean into it and play video games on it. You have this really neat 3D effect on it. But as you can see in the slide there, it was all red because that was the display technology at the time that was available. It was actually pretty neat how the whole thing worked. I'm going to do a video on this eventually, probably when we get back to the holiday season towards the end of the year. I always do a retro review, but it's nice now that you could emulate it on Android with your Google Cardboard and get a very similar experience, perhaps one that's more comfortable, because I'll tell you what, I've played with this a little bit now since having owned one for a few months here, and it is a lot of effort on your neck and back to just kind of stay leaned into this thing all the time to play the game. So to have something strapped to my head, maybe my HTC Vive eventually will work the same way, be kind of fun to do that. What I really want to see though is this VR duck hunt game that somebody has put together. It's been making the rounds at some of the retro game shows. He hasn't released it yet to the world. I'll put a link down below in the description for that too. That's going to be really cool when that comes about. So we'll probably play with that one on the Vive when it does make its appearance. But cool stuff. Nice way to experience something that I don't think a lot of people got to experience back when it initially came out. And what's funny, by the way, about the Virtual Boy is that I had that in the background of some of my prior sets here on the channel, and somebody wrote in thinking it was a barbecue grill because they'd never seen one before. So we're getting past an era where some people may even remember what the Virtual Boy was. So we'll try to keep the dream alive a little bit here. So now a Q&A for you. First of all, I want to thank everyone who wrote in last week about my question regarding interviews. It really helped a lot to try to figure out where I should go with them. I know they'll never be the highest watched or listened to thing on the channel, but I really do enjoy doing them. But I will try to start gearing my interviews more towards things that kind of fit with the suggestions that you all wrote. If I didn't respond to your comment, don't worry, I did read it. I did read every single one of those comments last week, and they were really helpful because it's also good for me to know what not to waste time on. And a lot of folks did not really like the interviews I used to do on trade show floors talking to companies because they thought it was very much a marketing speak thing. So I think when I do go off and do these shows, I'm going to do a kind of a summation of what I found and what I thought was interesting versus interviews with people who are working for the companies. But if there is something that interests me, maybe a founder of a company that I think is interesting, maybe we'll put that person on moving forward. So now for this week's question for you, I would love to know what you're excited about. What's happening? What's coming out that you'd like for me to take a look at? And let me know. I know there's a few things that I know a lot of you have been asking about a lot, and I'm getting there. We're just trying to get time to get to all those things, but we will be doing some stuff on the AMD APUs. I'm going to be putting together a $300 or thereabouts PC very shortly. We're going to try to get some of those AMD APU powered laptops in. Got a few more Chromebooks on the way. In fact, I got one already, another one coming, including that aluminum Acer that I know a lot of you were curious about. So we are going to keep doing the PC stuff, don't worry. But they sometimes come in ebbs and flows. So if you see my channel kind of diverge in a different direction occasionally from what you subscribe for, it will swing back. It's just a matter of what the product cycles are here on this stuff. But suggestions are always welcome. Keep them coming, and I will do my best to get to as many of them as I can. So this week, I'm only going to promise one thing, and that is this really wacky speaker that has a magnetic levitation feature to it. It's a Bluetooth speaker, and when you turn it on, one part of the speaker actually rises up and levitates with magnets, and it works, and it's really pretty cool, at least from the standpoint of how well it is engineered to do that levitation. The sound quality, but we'll look at that, and it'll probably be a fun video nonetheless. And this is one of the best parts about the Amazon Vine program, is that I see all this stuff that I would never even think about, and it's really cool just to see these things come onto the channel and play with them and show you how they work. So that cell phone booster was a great example of that too. But I will have a bunch of other stuff coming up this week too. I'm just not sure what I'm going to get to given the time with the kid, but we'll do at least more than at least one, don't worry, and we'll have some Chromebooks maybe this week too. So stay tuned. We'll get to everything as it comes in and I have time to look at it. If you want to help the channel, you can go to my Patreon page at Lon.TV/Patreon. If you want to make a one-time contribution to the channel, you can do so at Lon.TV. And of course, we have the Amazon page at Lon.TV/Amazon, and anything you buy after visiting that page, a small portion of that sale will go to the channel, but your price is not affected. What I will be doing with the Patreon and the fan funding revenue will be helping to pay for our new person who will be starting soon. And one of the lovely things about employing people is that it often costs more to employ people than it does to actually employ them. And by that, I mean, I have to get insurance and workers' comp stuff. And believe it or not, it's probably going to cost more, at least in the first couple of months, to pay for all of that stuff than it will be to pay for the person who will be helping me locally here. I have some young people from the high school locally who will be paid a fair wage to do what they do, but the insurance will probably cost more. But that is life as a business owner, so we'll deal with it as it comes. And we've got some great ways to connect with the channel. My email list, and I need to get an email out, Lon.TV/email. If you haven't gotten an email and subscribed, don't worry, it's coming at some point. Lon.TV/Facebook for the Facebook page, and I'm doing a lot of fun stuff on there. We've got the Reddit page at Lon.TV/Reddit, and the store. I wanted to point people at the store because I've got a lot of stuff in there, things that I've reviewed that I sell for less than I bought it for. So if you're looking for a good deal on something, these are one item sales. I've only got inventory of one each. But check them out to buy some things that have been reviewed on the channel. I'll be adding more and more stuff to it as I start clearing out more of this space. So definitely check that link as often as possible to make sure you don't miss something. And that'll do it for this week's weekly wrap-up. I'm going to bed. This is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching. This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.